all here. I'm Ritika Sharma, a student of School of Sciences currently pursuing BSc in Clinical Psychology. Before we dive into our content, I'd like to announce a few things. First, this webinar is being recorded and made available to you after the session. If you have any questions during the presentation, please type them into the Q&A box. We'll address as many questions as we can at the end of the presentation. Now, I would like to take a moment to introduce Pimpri Chinchwad University and its driving force PCET. Established in 1990, PCET boasts a rich legacy of nutritional excellence with a steadfast commitment to serving society, industry, and stakeholders through value based and quality education. With 12 institutes and an impressive student body of over 47,000, PCET stands as a beacon of educational prowess. PCET's vision extends to the establishment of PCU, where our focus lies on delivering top notch educational and fostering innovation. PCU offers a diverse array of programs spanning engineering, technology management, designs, liberal arts, mass media, pharmacy, law, and of course, the School of Sciences, which I am honored to represent. Now, I'd like to show a short video about a beautiful campus, and I request Anida ma'am to please play it.
The Pimpri Chinchwad Education Trust has established a state private university known as Pimpri Chinchwad University at Sate, Vadgaon Mawar in Pune Metropolitan Regional Development Authority. It is a 30-acre campus of academic facilities and amenities for students and teachers to help them to achieve their fullest potential. The Pimpri Chinchwad University campus is well connected with the cities Pune and Pimpri Chinchwad by road through Mumbai-Pune National Highway number 4 as well as Mumbai-Pune Expressway. Also, railway station Kanhe is at 1 kilometer distance. The nearest airport is Pune Airport. PCU has its different verticals which prepares leaders from different fields. School of Engineering and Technology. School of Design. School of Media Arts and Communication Studies by incorporating cultural activities, events, and organized tours and trips, fostering a holistic development approach. In a sense, Pimpri Chinchwad University is not just an institution. It is a vibrant ecosystem that nurtures talent, fosters creativity, and provides a platform for students to thrive in every aspect of their academic journey. PCU bus transport provides service across the city. Pimpri Chinchwad University, transformative education that empowers success in a rapidly evolving world.
Okay, so without any further ado, I'd like to extend our invitation to our esteemed Head of Department, Professor Ruchu Kutiala, whose visionary leadership has brought the School of Science to future. Professor Ruchu Kutiala will enlighten us further about the School of Sciences and its invaders. Now I request our HOD, Ms. Ruchu Kutiala, to brief us about School of Sciences.
The
Uh, Thank you so much, Ritika, for this humble introduction. And I also warmly welcome Mr. Sashin. Thank you so much, the School of Sciences, as in we are very, very grateful to you that you have accepted this request to talk about a very, very, I would like to say, the sensitive topic, but also a topic where awareness has to be created because these kind of cases, especially the substance abuse, is increasing day by day. First, we used to believe that it is of a certain age, probably 40, 45 or so, when you reach to a midlife of life, and probably due to financial crisis, sometimes we are not able to manage the needs of the family. But now the whole dynamics have changed. Finances and the availability of the finances resources now sometimes become a disadvantage, that you have so many resources, and that is the reason you are also indulging yourself into the substance abuse just to be a part of the peer and just to mingle with them. So thank
very
you so much for, yeah, so thank you so much for bringing this up and really talking this topic to our generation who is actually of this certain age where they should be aware of the same, and not only their own awareness, but they should also be awareing um, their peer about the same. Uh, as I rightly said in the beginning also, that when the induction ceremony is going to be there, and when we would be expecting our new batch as well, somewhere in the August, I have to request you once again, because at that time, a lot of students would be there, plus the students from other domains would also be there. We would really like to keep small session of yours, because this is like a noble cause which should be spread,
sure.
to
Yeah,
more and more children of this age.
I'll be happy.
Now, coming to the School of Sciences, I really take this proud to introduce the School of Sciences, where we focus on the very sector specific and vocational specific kind of the programs, because our only intention is to impart skills with the help of the education, and we also would like to give the experiential learning to our students with the help of the real case study portfolios and very real time kind of the examples in the class, so that they are able to practice more and more, because our programs are also very, very niche, like for example BSc in clinical psychology, no applied psychology, and also not BA in psychology, because clinical psychology aims at rehabilitation and to work for patients who are suffering from mental illnesses and disorders. And that is why it's altogether a bachelor's of science, and that too in the domain specific, that is clinical psychology. Similarly, reading the market and doing the research, we realize that a lot of people would like to pursue their career as a dietitian, because psychologists and nutritionists or dietitians, they stand as a allied health science support groups in the medical sector, and they may not be sometimes primary, but they could be a very big preventive, as well as the secondary care to a lot of clients as well as to a lot of patients. So, looking at home science, which is prevalent in a lot of universities, and very less credits are to the nutrition and dietetics. We do have BSc in nutrition and dietetics, where we cover not only fundamentals and advances in the human nutrition, but we also cover about the diseases. We have a very unique concept just to add on to these two programs, that is majors and minors. So, very integrative approach we had adopted, that our psychology students are doing minors in nutrition and nutrition students are doing minors in psychology, so that both of them understand the needs of BMI, the mental health, and how physical and mental health are related to each other for their better perspectives. And we have launched newly clinical microbiology as well as digital forensics. We are still in an explorative kind of a stage, that how these two programs would be picking up. So, with this kind of a thought in mind, I would be requesting you to now begin with a very important topic and with your expertise, that is the substance abuse, and especially focus for the adolescents. So, thank you so much. Over to you now.
Thank you, ma'am. All right. So,
Um,
can we get the slide up?
Just a humble request. We would really like to introduce you and your achievements. So I guess the student would be doing that first and then over to you.
No
Then you
problem.
may please start with the topic. Just
No.
one more moment, please.
Sure.
Thank you.
Thank you so much, ma'am. It's my pleasure to introduce our esteemed speaker for today's webinar, Mr. Sashin. Sachin sir holds an impressive array in qualifications, including an MA in clinical psychology, an MA in counseling psychology, and a PG diploma in psychotherapies. As a cognitive hypnotic psychotherapist and an NLP coach master practitioner, Sir brings a wealth of knowledge and expertise to his practice. Additionally, he is a clarified clinical sex therapist and a clarified access bars facilitator. Sir is the founder of Mind Mechanics in Pune and serves as a psychologist at Samyak Mental Healthcare and Rehabilitation Center in Pune. His extensive experience and dedication to mental health make him a highly respected figure in the field. Thank you so much, sir, for joining us today. So, any further
Thank
ado,
you.
let's start today's webinar, and I request you, sir, to kindly address the audience.
Sure. Thank you so much. Thank you so much. All right. That's a very long introduction, but yeah, thanks for bringing this up. Yeah, we can start with the first slide. Next slide, please. All right. So I would like to start the discussion with some things that we always see in the news, right? All of us would have seen this. If you look at the snips on the slide, 13% of drug abuse victims in India below 20 years of age, right? Over 1 crore youth in 10 to 17 years age group addicted to alcohol and drugs, right? Internet addiction, that's a new one, right? I'm not new anymore, although it's still growing. More of youth between 16 to 25 are turning to drugs, right? Tobacco addiction has grown. So all these news that we see every day, right? We at times also may feel, right? So what is it that is really happening with all the adolescents and teens that are, probably trying to get into the, mature world. And we see that, as Ruchu ma'am just mentioned earlier, the addictions where in the age bracket which is 40 plus. However, now we have seen that it is happening all the way even to 10 plus. Now I work as as you saw the earlier slide, I work at Samyak and I work as a clinical psychologist there. Have now seen so many addiction patients, different kinds of addiction, and the youngest addiction patient that I have seen is 11-year-old. This patient has multiple substance abuse that the patient has done, and it's not a forced abuse. So, it's pretty scary that, the age group has come so low. And that's why, I would like to use today's discussion to sensitize all the students, the youth, and people who have joined the session to, what addiction is, how we actually get into addiction, why everybody does not get addicted, why only few people are addicted, and worst case, if addiction happens, then what? I mean, it's not end of the world. There is still things that we can do to come out of addiction. So yes, it will have slightly clinical perspective to this entire topic, because I know addiction is not a new topic. However, what I would like to highlight here today is why people who start early on addiction early on are more prone to addiction, to become an addict in the later stage, right? Not everybody is going to become, but the probability increases if they start their addiction early in the age. Next slide, please. Next slide, Sanitya. Thank you. Yeah, I think we can skip this one. I just shortlisted it. Yeah, next one. All right. So what is addiction, right? I just picked up this definition from a journal. Like, addiction is defined as a chronic, relapsing disorder characterized by compulsive substance seeking and use despite adverse consequences. I mean, if you look at the words in bold, I mean, this one statement will actually explain you exactly what is addiction. It is a chronic disease. That means, once you are into addiction, you're always an addict. So we always in our rehab also we say once an addict, always an addict. So if you are into addiction, if you have gone into deep addiction, the chances of you to become addict again, even if you try a small quantity, is way, way more. So the relapses are very high. And that's why it's a relapsing disorder. So it can come back again. It's not like, okay, no, I'm an addict. I have, went to a rehab and now I'm done. That's not the case, right? So it's unlike, if you get ill, even if you get, an accident, and if you have a bone broken, you may still kind of recover out of it by, operating and all the stuff, and you'll be fine the rest of the life. But in addiction, once you are into addiction, it becomes a chronic illness, and relapse is very, very common if you don't take care of, the different coping mechanisms. So it's a compulsion. It's by compulsive substance seeking and use, right? So it's a compulsive behavior that actually is demonstrated by all the addiction patient post, the rehab or during the addiction phase, despite adverse consequences. I don't think anybody in this group who have joined today would say addiction is good, right? So we know addiction is not good. It has a lot of adverse consequences, right? Right from your health, your brain, your relationship, your social relationship, your professional, everything gets impacted. Yet people become addicted. Yet people do not understand how to stop and where to stop. I'd like to give a quick example. In the rehab that we have patients, as I said, right, young age patients and even patients who are old age patients. The entire spectrum has a lot of students, a lot of master's student who have even done masters in US. We have PhD students, we have doctors, we have engineers. Everybody can get addicted. Addiction has nothing to do with your level of intelligence, neither it has to do anything with your socio-economic status. I mean, you may have a lot of money or you may not have money. Anybody can become addicted. So despite all these people who are intelligent, they know addiction is not good. So despite adverse consequences, they still cannot hold themselves back. That's how bad addiction is. So I just want all of us to understand, it's not, we may always joke to people, oh, he's an addict, or you look like an addict. But and once people who are actually addicted, and nobody should get into that route at all. So it's good to stay away from it right from this age, because later on, if you're not used to it now, it definitely the probability of you becoming an addict later is lesser. Of course, yes, you can still become, if you keep drinking, but I'll explain why. Right. So it says that it's considered a brain disorder because it involves functional change to the brain circuits involved in reward, stress, and self-control. We'll talk about it in the next slide. So what it does is it actually modifies certain areas of your brain, right, to lack of a easier word, and it actually does not allow you to use your logical mind to hold yourself from addiction. So that's how bad it is. So once you get into addiction, it's very difficult, although not impossible, to come out of it. And once you can come out of it, it's easy to get back into addiction. So both ways it works. Next slide, please. All right, so yeah, some examples I'm sure most of us know about it. So chemicals that we can get addicted to: caffeine, right? We all feel, oh, I drink tea, I drink coffee, ये चलता है, कोई problem नहीं है. That's not the case. Caffeine addiction is equally bad. Like alcohol, of course, we know nicotine, cigarettes, right? Cannabis, MB.
तरी 4 वर शिकवणार
Hello?
एक पण बरोबर आहे असे एक कुणाचं बघताय हा शिकावत आहे
Yeah, thank you. All right, so and then on the behavioral side, we have addiction like
I request the host to kindly check if somebody's mic is a little unmute so that there is no disturbance for our speaker.
Yes, ma'am. I have muted them.
Please put everybody on mute. If you see somebody unmute, kindly please mute them. I request you.
Yes, ma'am.
Thank you, Ruchima. All right. So on the behavioral side, if you look at it, sexual addiction, gambling, video games, pornography, shopping, right? There are many which are now behavioral addictions, and then one is the chemical addiction. So somebody might say, yeah, I don't have alcohol, so I'm not addicted to, I don't have a chance to become an addict. No, but if you are into, sexual addiction, pornography, gambling, video games, shopping, all these things are also addiction. And you'll see that, all these different substances, whether it's chemical or behavioral, they all go through the same cycle of becoming Next slide, please. Next slide. Yeah, thanks. Yeah. So as I said, right, typically what I've picked up here in this slide is, in adolescent, what we have seen, and research has shown that internet addiction, video game, online gaming, cyber sex or sexting is now the next level of addiction that has come in, right? Cyber bullying, that is the new one, not new, but now it's growing up. Smoking, substance includes all the different kinds of substances, including drugs and, MD and everything. And cell phone addiction, I found this word, right? Fubbing. So very interesting. People are now addicted to cell phones so much that they may be actually looking at the cell phone while somebody else is talking to you, right? So you don't have time to even look at that other person and socially interact because you're so addicted to the phones. And of course, nomophobia, which is, I don't have a mobile today. Imagine how the state of our minds is if you don't have mobile next to you. So yes, that is addiction, right? If you can't stay away from your phone, even during the day or even for a couple of hours, that is definitely an addiction. So even if our battery gets discharged, phone battery, we are so anxious, we are so nervous. Ab kya hoga? I'm kind of, somebody has taken away my right arm. So that's how bad cell phone addiction has been. And probably this is going to get even worse as we go ahead. Next slide, please. Next slide. Wonderful. Okay, this is the one slide that I would really definitely want to talk about. Why do adolescents take substances, right? Why does it happen? I'm going to probably use different languages also in between so that, if we have a different wide segment, then we can connect to them too. So, तरुण मुलांमध्ये का होतं substance addiction किंवा addiction मध्ये का जातात, right? So the pressure from friends, this apparently is one of the biggest reason why teens, adolescents, younger people would go to substances, right? Of course, if there is a trauma at home or, in their social circle, then of course they might go towards substance, but pressure from friends, peer pressure. I want to appear cool. I want to be a part of this group. I don't want to be singled out. People will say, "Arey, ye kuch nahi karta," right? Ye to bacha hai. You be a man, right? I've seen a lot of these statements are coming up from different patients that I've dealt with. When students in the classroom would say, "Arey, ye to kuch nahi karta," right? Lot of pressure from friends, and then you end up doing, okay, let me try once, right? And then once becomes twice, thrice, and then eventually it ends up into increasing. Second point is curiosity and experimentation. In this young generation, younger people, right, there is always a curiosity. Ye hai kya? What happens why do people smoke cigarettes? Kya hota hai? Let me try. Why do people drink alcohol? Kya hota hai? They say you get a high after you drink alcohol. What is that high? Hota kya hai? Curiosity, right? Experiment karna hai mujhe. Let me try. Right? Easy access. Many cases, what we have seen is if there is an easy access to substances, right? Substance means everything, all that we saw, chemical as well as chemical especially, and even behavioral. It works across all of them, right? If they are readily available, testing it actually happens very easily. Let's say in a lot of families there is alcohol at home because the parents drink or maybe the adults drink, but kids also have access to that same cupboard. What if they kind of open it when parents are not around and try it? So easy access. ऐसे नहीं कि they have to go and buy it from market. So easy access. घरी available आहे, चला लगेच पिऊन बघा काय होतं, right? Then the next one is stress and academic pressure. If you have a lot of stress and academic pressure, then students may try to get towards substance because they have aspirations, they want to get relieved of academic pressure, or they want to feel the pseudo relief, right? Ki, oh yeah, you know what, now I feel I don't have that, मुझे वो load नहीं लग रहा है अभी, okay, ये दो after having this alcohol or XYZ. So that is what happens, right? And then to feel good, some people may suffer from depression or anxiety, stress, physical pain, right? And they may take the substances to lessen the feeling of distress, because distress hai, so they may try to do it. So these are the core reasons, right, why younger generation may take go towards substances. I want each one of you to really focus on these points and mull over. If you are in any of these category, then you definitely should reach out to your teachers or your counselors and make sure that you let them know that I too am going through this. Next slide, please. Great. Now we said we saw about the points why somebody, why an adolescent may go towards addiction. Now, how does one get addicted? You may have a question, right? ठीक है, मैंने ले लिया तो addiction कैसे होगा मुझे? So no one starts taking substances with an aim of getting addicted. It's like, as I said, that okay, let me try. एक से क्या होगा? एक सिगरेट से कुछ नहीं होता, एक बियर से कुछ नहीं होता, एक पैक से कुछ नहीं होता, इससे okay, let me try this tablet. क्या है इसमें? एक से क्या होगा, right? That's how it actually starts. However, if there is no, we'll come to those different reasons why you kind of move towards addiction. But if there is no barrier, then it actually starts. One becomes two, two becomes three, four, and so on, right? And then when the substances are increasing, it's actually altering the brain properties such that at one point in time, the person has to take that substance in order to stay away from the withdrawal symptoms. Right? कि इतना वो addiction हो जाता है कि now I don't want to feel high anymore. I know addiction is bad. I want to get away from it. But now my brain is not allowing me to stay away because it's giving me all the different shivers and shakiness and everything, restlessness, anxiety, because I'm not drinking, because I'm not having the substance. So now I actually go and have the substance so that I feel calm. I don't want any high anymore, but I cannot stay away from the substance. And that is the reason people get addicted, right? That's one of the core and the key reason why people move towards addiction. And we say, oh, ye savere se daru pita hai, to raat tak daru pita hai. It may not be because he wants to say hi. It's because he doesn't want to feel, restless or anxious or, all the cravings and withdrawal symptoms. That's why they drink. Next slide, please. All right, so I know it's a slightly crowded slide. However, I just wanted to highlight, how the brain, I kept talking, right? Brain में changes होते हैं, brain कुछ करता है. So the basal ganglia that we see, right? It's like more of a reward circuit. So let's say, we always, teacher rewards student for good work, good, creative work. They feel good. Wow, today I was appreciated in front of all the students. It's a feel good factor, right? Now, the same way, if I kind of achieve some milestone, I feel good, right? If I'm appreciated, I feel good. All these things are like the pleasure. I feel so pleasurable. I feel nice about it, right? So this is the circuit that actually is used for, all, if you can see healthy eating habits, socializing, even sex, if for having the pleasure from sex. So that's why it has been designed, right? However, when you start taking substances, these substances actually overactivate the circuit so much because it wants to produce the euphoria of high. So thoda sa loge, first time if you take one cigarette, you'll feel high. Next time, two se nahi hota. Okay, I want to have one more. So you are overloading that circuit so much because you're not feeling high. So you're trying to add more and more and more of the substance. Now, if you look at the extended amygdala, what it does is it plays a role in stressful activity like anxiety, hota hai, uneasiness, everything, right? All the effect that particular amygdala is supposed to create, they kind of start fading out because of the substance, right? Over time, the person takes the substance to feel the temporary relief from the discomfort, then the high, as I said, right? Over the time, pehle, I'm feeling anxious, so I'm taking substance. After some time, ऐसा होता है कि मुझे anxious कुछ नहीं, I don't want to feel high, but I cannot stay away from the stress and anxiety and everything that my brain is now pushing me towards. And if you look at the third part, it's very interesting. And this is like something that I really want all the younger folks to look at it. Logical and decision-making part of the brain, kaun sa hai? Prefrontal cortex, right? And it is the last part of our brain that actually starts maturing as, probably towards age of 18 and 19. That's when we know that, okay, it's maturing enough. So the earlier we start abusing substances, it's actually hitting this particular part, which is actually in the mode of development or stage of development, right? It has the control to, it has the capability to control the impulses and also the compulsive reaction. Now, agar isi part ko humne attack ho gaya, if this part itself is getting impacted, then we lose impulse. Impulse means what? Abhi mujhe lag raha hai mujhe cigarette pina hai. That's an impulsive action, right? हाँ वो पी रहा है चल मैं भी पीता हूँ. That's an impulsive action. right? But our frontal cortex says, nahi, logically, nahi, not right time, not good thing, acha nahi hai, wo nahi hai. So we have this logical reasoning that happens, right, in the executive function that is in the prefrontal, which holds us back from doing things. But once this portion itself is kind of, overloaded, then you will not be able to take right decisions, right, for the impulsive. And eventually, once you get into addiction mode, right? So loss of impulse control, thus making the person seek the substance compulsively with reduced impulse control. Means now there's a compulsion that the brain does, lena hai, so that mujhe acha lage. So if you see all these three core parts, right, they work in tandem to kind of to kind of take a person from being a non-addict to an addict. And that's why, I just wanted to highlight. Of course, there are many other parts involved, but these are the core parts that I just wanted to let people know. And prefrontal happens to be the most, because logical decision making brain जब तक हमारा अच्छा है, तब तक हम लोग अच्छी तरह से we can do everything in life. Once that is impaired, then we don't know, we are not able to take the right decisions, and it can actually go ahead and impact us. Next slide, please. All right, so ठीक है, ये सब हो गया. So what keeps them going? So why do I continue, right? We touched upon it. So initial decision to take substance is typically voluntary. कोई push नहीं कर रहा है, कुछ नहीं कर रहा है. It is ठीक है, मेरा ही. See, even if I go in a group and lot of let's say I go in a group of 5 and 4 of them are smoking, I don't have to smoke, technically speaking, right? It's my choice. I only decide, Nini, I want to be a part of the group. I want to comply to what the group norms are. So I will decide that, okay, let me go and smoke. So it's my choice, right? So initially it's all voluntary, by my choice. But once you keep continuing it, a person's ability to exert self-control, nahi pina, becomes seriously impaired. And this impairment in the self-control is the hallmark of addiction, because now I can't control. Right? Earlier मुझे पता था एक के बाद मैं बस करूंगा, अभी मुझे नहीं होता. I cannot control myself. Right? And if you look at the image, right, the healthy brain and the addiction brain, the lower part you see, right, that's a prefrontal. See how it is kind of damaged, in the addicted brain. It is not able to make those decisions. It is not able to actually be critical to judgment or behavior control. And these are the changes that actually explain the compulsive nature of addiction. Compulsive means अब मुझे लेना ही है वो. I don't have a choice. I have to take it. Otherwise, I will have a big problem. Next slide, please. All right. So, Abhi, the next question that will come to all of us, all of our minds is clear. So, does it mean all people become addicted? I have so many friends who drink, they don't become addicted. So, ऐसा क्यों है कि only few people become addicted and few don't? I know so many. My dad drinks, my XYZ drink, my amuk amuk drinks, but they're not into addiction. They're not into the addiction centers. They're not addicted. So why only some people would be addicted? And this is also a very something that I want everybody to think over, right? So as I said, it all depends on person to person, right? There is no single factor that determines whether a person will become going to be an addict or not, right? Now, what research have shown is there are risk factors and there are protective factors. So if you look at the risk factor and the protective factor, the more the risk factor that are kind of applicable to a person, the more chances of that person to go into addiction. The more the protective factors that are applied to a particular person, the lesser the chances of them to go towards addiction. So it reduces the person's risk, right? Now, the risk and the protective can be the environmental or biological. So let's talk about risk quickly, risk and protective factor. Can you go to the next slide, please? Oh, can you guys read it? I'm so sorry. I probably used the wrong part. All right. So anyway, so risk factors, and I'll just quickly read it. So risk factor में क्या है? Chaotic home environment. घर पे शांति नहीं है. Chaotic है सब कुछ. Ineffective parenting. Parenting issue है. Little or mutual attachment. Parents के साथ, घर वालों के साथ attachment कम है. इनअप्रोप्रिएट शाय और एग्रेसिव क्लासरूम बिहेवियर. क्लासरूम में बुलिंग हो रहा है, क्लासरूम में एक्सेप्टेंस नहीं हो रहा है, राइट? एकेडमिक फेलियर हुआ है, आई हैव फेल्ड मल्टीपल टाइम्स और आई हैव फेल्ड इन मल्टीपल सब्जेक्ट्स, आई एम फीलिंग लो राइट नाउ. लो एकेडमिक एस्पिरेशन ही नहीं है. पुअर सोशल कोपिंग स्किल्स, आई एम अनेबल टू stay myself in a social circle, I'm unable to communicate in a social circle, so I start keeping away, I start feeling shy, right? Affiliations with deviant peers, friendship who are actually into substances, right? Now in the college, there are different kinds of kids, right? There could be some who may not who may be doing substances or may not to that extent, but for them it's okay. But for a person who is not used to it, as I said, right, if the risk factors are more, the chances of all those people may increase for them to move towards addiction, right? And then then the parental substance, or if the parents themselves are abusing substances, then also the chances of the child goes higher. Now let's look at the protective factor. So what protects us, right? Strong family bonds, parental engagement in child's life. It's many a times parents may be busy in their own work because of different reasons, right? Not to blame them. However, it could actually start impacting the child, because the child may not be monitored at the right point at the right time. Clear parental expectations and consequences. So rewards and punishment has to be there, right? Even parenting happens to be a very key thing here, right? Academic successes, when you see successes, then you feel, oh no, I want to succeed. I don't want to get here. I really want to be at the top. And there's strong bonds with pro-social institutions, schools, community, churches, temples, wherever, religiously you are connected, so that you know what's right and what's wrong. Somebody is there to guide you all the time. And then the conventional norms about drugs and the making people aware, making students aware of these different things is also very important, and happens to be a protective factor. And exactly the session that we are having today is also one of the protective factors, so that you're getting sensitized what to do and what not to do. Next slide, please. All right, so we are going to run through this slide quickly. Just wanted to, सब लोग बोलते substance है क्या है substance, right? Are all substance same? Are all the substances like alcohol, drugs, everything same? No. So some are stimulants, some are depressants, and some are hallucinogens, right? So this I've just added this slide. You can quickly read that, right? So stimulants क्या करता है? It kind of stimulates the entire your body, increases alertness, attention, blood pressure, heart rate. So you feel high, right? You feel energetic, right? Yeah, I can do this. Let's do this. Let's do that. Paranoia आएगा, and the long-term effects भी इसके बहुत बुरे होते हैं, right? It's very bad in the long term. What is now, if you look at this central CNS depressants, right? This is like medication that slow down the brain activity. What is the most common slowing down substance? That's alcohol. We'll come to the next slide. And hallucinogens are, sometimes you might hear, yeah, I did this, somebody did this substance, and he was into another world altogether, like a very hallucinatory world, completely out of reality, distorts the perception of reality. That's what the hallucinogens are. Next slide, please. We'll talk about this in the next slide quickly. All right, so I just picked up, kind of differentiated this so that everybody can have an easy slide to know which is what, right? So stimulants are caffeine, cocaine, ecstasy. Then if you look at the depressants, alcohol, or the cannabis, tranquilizers, painkillers. Many times people say, yeah, I morphine ka injection liya hai. So heroin, opium are actually painkillers, but they are abused, unfortunately, by people, right? So a lot of patients who come at the rehab, they say, yeah, Shashin, I just took, मैंने तो opium लिया था, वो तो medicinal value है उसका, but you need to consume it in the right amount by only under the direction of the doctor. You cannot just go and abuse that, right? Then it starts hitting you hard. And then hallucinations में क्या है? Hallucinogens में marijuana है, ganja, right? LSD. These are all hallucinogens, which will actually kind of distort the entire perception, and then you will feel ki, yeah, I'm somewhere else completely, right? So that's a quick different groups of substances that we should be aware of, right? Next one. We can move on. Next one. Next one. Yeah, because this is getting, we'll come back to, okay, this is the most important slide, right? Another important slide. क्या होता क्या है दारू पीने से या any of the substances से? So dopamine, you may have heard dopamine, serotonin, all these different neurotransmitters, chemicals that are actually needed by our brain, right? So so there are a lot of neurotransmitters in our brain, which is like a DJ console. So I don't know how many people have seen it, right? But you have all those levers that can be changed, right? For tonality, for pitch, and all this stuff. So that's exactly how levels of different neurotransmitters are in our brain, are needed for our brain. Okay, the balance for each person is different. However, what happens is if they get imbalanced, then there is a problem. Now, when you take alcohol, so it's like the pleasure center, it floods the pleasure center. When the alcohol, cocaine, nicotine, caffeine, very important, right? They all kind of flood our pleasure center, and it gives us the feeling of well-being, euphoria. And this is where the dopamine level increases. जो भी हमको dopamine मिलता है, so we feel good, pleasure, right? I feel good, so nice, right? So substances would give you this kick of dopamine or the inflow or the surge of dopamine, which makes you feel so good, right? And that is exactly the reason why people continue to do it, right? Next slide, please. All right. So where do we get this dopamine from? Is it like बाहर से आता है या अंदर से भी आता है? No, of course your body creates dopamine. All of us, people who are not having alcohol or any other substance, they also have dopamine, and उनका भी livers बराबर से balance होते हैं, right? However, if you say no, I want to have more, so cheap dopamine कहाँ से आता है? TV series, TV, right? Oh, I want to binge watch. I want to go to see one series, then next one. Oh, the next episode. That is exactly because your brain is getting that kick, right? And then they make you curious, like a cliffhanger, right? The series stops at the right point so that it actually makes you take the new one. Alcohol, junk food, drugs, social media, gambling, all these things actually are giving you a dose of dopamine. Now that's cheap dopamine. I mean, you can actually bad dopamine also, right? And what's a real dopamine, right? Workout, rest, good sleep, right? Gymming, new experiences, research, R&D, going and talking to people, going and probably doing volunteering work into some centers. All these things are real dopamine that will actually give you real pleasure, and it will create a natural dopamine instead of any of these externally induced dopamines. Next slide, please. Next slide. Yeah, thank you. Yeah, so if you look at, I just picked up one slide, one image, right, to tell you heavy drinking. We say na दारू, अमिताभ बच्चन का डायलॉग है, दारू पीने से लिवर खराब होती है, right? However, it is not only the liver, it is so many things actually get affected by heavy drinking. So because I picked up drinking because alcohol happens to be the most abused substance in India, in the world, in fact. Right, and that's why I said कि दारू से खाली एक चीज नहीं, there are so many things that happen. So it is definitely so bad that everybody should definitely avoid all these substances. Next slide, please. I know we have. So Sanija, how much time do I have?
10 minutes.
It's okay, Sachin. You can please a little continue, because what you are talking, that previous slide was quite scientific, that
Yeah.
how it actually impacts. So it's okay. You can take
right.
at least 10 minutes more. That's fine. Yeah, please.
All right, good. Thank you so much. Yeah. All right. So why should adolescent be concerned? So you may have a question. Na, तो क्या मेरे लिए क्या है इसमें? Why should I be concerned? Well, there are a lot of, I just mentioned some, but there are a lot of physical dependence and addiction to the substance. The biggest problem, because I'll tell you, I'll come to that. Then health problems, social problems. Now you cannot go and interact with people because you always want to be with the substance. So you will tell your friends, नहीं मुझे नहीं आना है, आप लोग जाओ and I'll do substance. I don't want to come for outing because I know I'm not going to get the substance there, so I am not going to come for the outing. आप चले जाओ. Slowly you become so reserved and all by yourself, right? Social problems, morbidity, you will get different kinds of illnesses and injuries due to violence. Why injuries? Because people fall. They are not in the same state of mind. They're not unable to take right decisions. Logical brain हिल गया है, right? So now there is chances of being getting injured. They may try to drive two-wheelers and they may fall and they may crash and they may actually hurt others also. Unprotected sex, because now the basal ganglia is so much overloaded that they and the logical reasoning is also impaired. So even though they know the sex should be protected sex, ideally they go towards unprotected sex. They go towards having sex with multiple partners without feeling guilty. See, that is the biggest thing. They don't feel guilty about it because दिमाग नहीं चल रहा है, logical mind रुका हुआ है, right? Motor vehicle accidents, breaking law, suicides, homicides, deaths, right? Now, in the rehab, I tell people addiction, once in case somebody gets into addiction, there are only 3 places they go, right? One is your rehab center or the hospital. Second is jail, and third is cemetery, because they drink so much that their organs start failing and then they have no option but to, of course, they die, right? Jail, because if you don't get money for substances, you will start selling things at home, doing things that you shouldn't be doing, hitting people, robbing people, and then end up into a jail. And the third thing is rehab, which is the best thing to happen for an addiction patient, right? So these are the only three places that a chronic addict usually ends up. And that's why I always keep telling people that once you become addict, then you being in the de-addiction center is the best thing that has happened in your life. Next slide, please. Alright, so let's talk about what can you do to avoid. ठीक है, हमने अभी सब बात किया, ये हो सकता है, तो अब मैं करूँ क्या इसको? How do I avoid? Keep myself away. Get active. The most important. Involve yourself in physical and mental activity. That you love, pursue hobbies, sports, arts, because that is the natural source of dopamine. अगर आपका दिमाग अच्छा रहेगा, शांत रहेगा, आपको ये सब करने की जरूरत नहीं पड़ेगी. You will not get attracted towards these things because you're already high, right? With your natural dopamine. Now, respect yourself. A lot of people, if you have a self-esteem issue, you may get bullied, you may get pushed to a corner, and that could be, okay, reason for you to kind of get towards it. So start respecting yourself. Take help, right? It's always easy to take help nowadays. Seek positive acceptance, right? Try to find other ways to feel accepted and liked by other people. Just because they are doing substances, and if I do the substance, then they will like me. ये गलत है, right? To try to find something. Oh, I think they will like me if I'm very good in this particular subject or this particular topic. अगर मुझे psychology अच्छी आती है, या if I know, let's say social psychology good, then I may be, they will respect me, और मुझे ये करने की जरूरत नहीं पड़ेगी जो अभी वो लोग कर रहे हैं. So think about it. Have your own values. Believe in yourself. What are your values? What's right for you? Stand up for yourself. Very important. Many people, unfortunately, are not aware how to do it, and that is the reason they may actually end up this. Have goals, dreams, and then the last one that I wanted to have says, get help. Right? A lot of people feel कि अरे मुझे अब कुछ नहीं कर सकता हूँ मैं, अब तो हो गया. No, it's not like that, right? Even before you get there, you can actually reach out to your counselor, your teacher, or any trusted person to take help. Right? It's never too late. Yeah. Go to the next slide, please. Okay, I'll just quickly briefly walk through. So somebody might ask, causes kya hote hai addiction? Now this is more of a clinical perspective. Thoda sa I'll just touch upon this. So clinically, if you look at biological reason हो सकते हैं, social reason हो सकते हैं, right? Social media, loneliness, availability, culture also. So biological and environmental. मेरा environment ही ऐसा है कि आजू बाजू में सभी लोग substance कर रहे हैं. So even if I want to stay sane, I may actually get attracted towards addiction. So yes, it's not like my willpower is so strong. Yes, you can sustain to an extent, but after that, some of these other factors kind of pull you down. Next slide, please. Symptoms, yeah, we know that, right? A strong desire or a compulsion to take substance, right? कि मुझे लेना ही है, we tolerance नहीं कर पा रहा हूँ. Next slide. I want to go to the next one. Yeah, I mean, behavioral कैसा होता है? One is, you see chemical. Behavioral में क्या होता है? Increased frequency, obsession to that particular substance, psychological problems, persistence to continue. Even if I know that it's bad, I have to continue. I keep continuing. Next slide, please. Yeah, so we talk about withdrawals, right? If I don't take alcohol, what happens? This is what happens. So I feeling shakes or chills, fever-like symptoms, mood swings, anxiety, depression, bone pain, all these things start happening. That's what the brain does, right? And amygdala is, you're unable to control it. And that is the reason you eventually say, give me some daru so that, or give me some substance so that I don't feel any of these and I feel good. That's why eventually the addiction patient actually take this. Next slide. So withdrawal. To avoid withdrawal, they take alcohol later. Okay, quickly. This is an important slide I want to everybody to take away with them. So first, it starts with initial use on the top, right? एक बार पी लिया, okay, एक साल में एक बार लिया, फिर 6 महीने में एक बार लिया, फिर 3 महीने में एक बार लिया. Then you start abusing whatever you are using right now. And then एक बार दो, many times people may feel, oh, I had 2 drinks, but I don't feel high anymore. I need the third one. And after some time, oh, I had 3, I don't feel any high anymore. I need the 4th one. Okay, or I need 2 cigarettes, or I need 2 tablets, right? So the tolerance is increasing. As the tolerance increases, I am now becoming dependent on that particular substance. So it starts with a simple use, one-off thing, goes to abuse, tolerance बढ़ जाता है. So एक पेक से नहीं होता, एक beer से नहीं होता है. 4 beers now, 3 beers now, dependence बढ़ गया है. And once the dependence increases, I cannot stay away from this anymore. Then you get into addiction, right? So if you can hold yourself back when you are in the initial use and abuse mode, that's the best, right? Reach out to your counselors, reach out to your teachers, tell them, be very open to them. If this is what is happening with me, and you can easily come out of this. Once you get into the dependence mode and addiction mode, de-addiction becomes the only other way to come out of it. Next slide. And we almost done. Yeah, I just wanted to, this is a de-addiction cycle that I added, right? You get into a pre-contemplation, contemplation, preparation. I think we can skip this one because I think addiction was more important. Okay, now coping, how do I do? So coping, how do we cope up with abuse, right? That has happened. So seek therapy, right? Adopt stress in a reduction program, yoga, exercising. Again, we spoke about it. How do you cope up with all these things? Many times people say, "Ki Shashin, I have to we have a lot of parties and everything. And मैं अगर जाऊंगा और मैं नहीं पीऊंगा, लोग मुझे बोलेंगे कि ये क्या है?" So I tell them, you have Coke, you have Sprite, right? You don't have to have wine. You can have Sprite, you can have Coke, you can have something else. Limbu pani le lo, kuch to le lo. And tell your friends ki I do not want to get into this. I need your help. Please help me out. So and they will help, right? If they are good friends, they will help. Next slide. Yeah, so there are different treatment for this, your detoxification, having pharmacotherapy and then medicines to control it. Once you, this is, of course, once you actually get into addiction. Next one. Yeah, then different psychotherapies, that we can use. CBT is there, aversion, motivational interviewing happens. MI and MET happens to be the most used therapeutic interventions for addiction patients. And then CBT and other family therapy can be used even at any point in time, right? Group therapy. Then there are Alcoholic Anonymous and Narcotic Anonymous meetings. So there are a lot of ways in which you can actually stay away from the substances, but you have to make use of it and take the right decision. Right? Next slide. All right, yeah. So I hope I'm on time. So all right, so hope you guys had a kind of a overall picture about what addiction is, how a person can get into addiction, what a person should do if they get into addiction. And again, even if they become addicted, it's not the end of the world, right? There is help available. You can always reach out to your counselors, your teachers to can help you out. Thank you so much, Jen.
Thank you so much, sir. It was a really great and informative session. Now I ask the participants to kindly ask their queries. If they have, they can unmute themselves or they can directly write down their queries in the chat box. So I request the participants to do so.
Right. Yeah, feel free to ask. I mean, we shouldn't be shy.
Good morning, sir. This is
Hi,
Govind,
Govind. Yes, Govind.
BSc Clinical Psychology. Yeah, so I had a question regarding something that I've observed here in India is the use of tobacco, right? That chewing tobacco is quite popular, I think, even in adolescents. And I want to see that even though people are quite aware that it's detrimental to health, it's still being continued.
Yes.
It's still quite prevalent in our society. So as learning psychologists, how can we tackle addiction when our clients are still aware of all the negative effects that the substance can have, but they still refuse to quit?
So sorry, the question was, why do they do this?
Not why do they do this, it's even though a client is aware that there are negative and detrimental effects to the substance that they are indulging in, they still refuse to quit. So as learning psychologists, how can we tackle that situation?
Absolutely, good question. And that's where we as psychologists, it's our job to sensitize all these people because so if you look at so let's say somebody is doing into addiction, there are reasons why they may have got into addiction. So you may use different therapeutic interventions, right, to first understand. Now, if they can't stay away from addiction, from the substance for any reason, then ideal ways to bring them to a rehab. There's a reason for the rehab, because rehab, they would be staying away from the substance. Their logical thinking, the rational mind, the rationalization comes into play again. And once they're rational, then we can actually do psychotherapies on them to understand why they are doing this and to make them realize that they shouldn't be doing it. Now, if you heard me right, even in the rehab, we have doctors and PhDs and IITians who are actually addiction patients. Very learned people. They know exactly what's happened. They know the entire addiction cycle, but yet they cannot hold back. That's what your question is, I guess, right? Now, what we do for them, we actually do a lot of therapeutic interventions where we try and understand, right? Why is it that they are doing so? MI and MET therapies like motivational interviewing and motivational enhancement therapy, these they have a certain set of process which actually helps the addiction patients to kind of get the insight and how they can stay away from this addiction. It is not about intelligence. It is about kind of going deeper and actually kind of trying to stay away from the substance by getting that insight why it is bad, or why I was doing this, or this is the reason that I was doing it. Some people may have a very bad environment at home, and so even if they're intelligent, even if they know everything, they may just be drinking to get away from that particular mental stress. And when they start drinking once, twice, eventually they don't even realize when they end up into becoming an addiction. So the environment cause is very important. The social circle is very important. The environment at home is super important, because if they don't have the right protective factors, right, all the way, they will have problem. Marriage may issues hai, they will have problem. Kids are not listening to them, they will have problem. So there are so many factors going. It is just not one factor that actually makes even them to move towards addiction. And that's why it's very hard to pinpoint. So what we do is we actually talk to them and we understand ki kyun, what happened, and then they will, once they rationalize it, they themselves are kind of staying away. And then alcoholic anonymous meetings and all these things, they actually help people to, these are a lot of group therapies, help them to stay away from all these substances by getting the insight from others also. So it's to answer your question, yes, there are multiple reasons, but then it's going to be specific to that person, individuals, can't generalize.
Thank you, sir. That was very informative.
Sure.
So even I had a question actually.
Sure.
In this session, you covered the topic of phases of addiction, right? And when we talk about adults and adolescents, there surely is a lot of difference when we talk about them. So, how do adolescent addiction patterns differ from those of adults? That I want to know.
Sure. So the addiction cycle is same for all. Okay. And addiction cycle is same for all substances. It is same for social as well as, I mean, the behavioral as well as chemical, right? If you look at that image that we had, right? So it starts with the use, then abuse, then, it increased tolerance, and then dependence and addiction, right? We can actually relate it back to anything, even irrespective of the age, irrespective of any type of addiction. It could also be an addiction to playing cricket. It could also be an addiction to watching cricket. It could also be an addiction to watching Netflix series. Same thing. So if you look at it from the brain perspective, the adolescents का अगर brain इतना develop नहीं हुआ है till that time, they may actually end up into this phase much faster. They may actually cross the different stages faster as compared to an adult who is rational, right? Okay, I'm only going to stop at 2 drinks. I'm only going to do this, right? Because they can use their rational mind. सब कुछ develop हो चुका है. Prefrontal अच्छा strongly develop हुआ है. अगर if somebody starts at the age of 13, right, or 14, it becomes very difficult for them to make that decision, because for them getting high is very easy, right? So adolescent and the cycle will be same for all. It's just that the duration or the time that it will need to get into the addiction phase could be much faster for younger people as compared to the mature adults.
Thank you so much, sir.
All right, hope it answered your question.
Okay, so now I request Utkarsha ma'am to please give vote of thanks.
Hello, am I audible?
Yeah, ma'am. Yeah.
Okay, so I hope there are no questions now, and I would like to give vote of thanks. I would like to thank our respected guest speaker, Mr. Sachin sir, for your valuable guidance to our students, and I would also like to thank our head of science department and very supportive Professor Ruchu ma'am. And with her permission, I would like to end this session. Thank you, students and all the professors for joining. Thank you, sir. Again.
Yeah, thank you so much. And I also wanted to thank Ruchu ma'am for giving me this opportunity to, talk about it and, sensitize people around it. I hope, people can may have gotten a lot of insight from this session. If there is any question, then, they can always reach out or, post it wherever, on your portal, and I'll be happy to, come there and also talk to people if they have any specific question, if they are ashamed to ask online. Not a problem.
Okay. Thank you. Thank you, sir.
Sure. All right. So, is it okay for me to drop off?
Yes, sir. Yes, fine. Sir.
All right. Thank you.
Thank you.